According to McLuhan, the first period in our history is known as the Tribal Age. This Tribal Age is often referred to as an acoustic era because of the four main senses that are dominant during this period of time. The four main senses that are dominant during this period of time are the sense of hearing, touching, taste, and smell. These four main senses are more dominant compared to the ability to visualize something and conceptualize things. Prehistoric media, by the term prehistory, is also known as the literary history, wherein it is a period of human history between the use of the first stone tools by the homonyms. It is believed that it is the beginning of recorded history with the invention of a writing system. During this period of time, people communicate with each other through engraving something out of a cave or carving something in a stone.
One of the examples of prehistoric media is rock carving. This is a process where the surface of a rock is scoured, scratched, engraved, chiseled, carved, etc., which makes an image or a symbol. Rock carvings were used as a form of art and communication in the prehistoric era. Some of its examples are petroglyphs and hieroglyphs, and the earliest recorded rock carving is the Bhimbetka petroglyphs in India. It is dated from at least 290,000 BCE, but are most likely to be older. As mentioned earlier, petroglyphs are a form of rock carving. According to King, petroglyphs are pictures carved into a rock by scratching its surface to reveal the natural colors of its layers. Petroglyphs serve as a reflection of the prehistoric societies and tribes' culture and religion. One of the many forms of petroglyphs are cupules, which are less complex, and according to Vadala, they are simple carvings that looks like a cup-shaped hole in the side of a rock surface. Here are some of the examples of petroglyphs. The first image shows the Bhimbetka petroglyphs located in Madhya Pradesh, India. And the other one is the La Ferracie cave cupules found in southwest of France. Next is the hieroglyph. Egyptians from 5,000 years ago used hieroglyphs as a writing system, which used pictures instead of letters. And the people who wrote hieroglyphs are called scribes. The term hieroglyph came from the Greek words hiero, which means holy, and glypho, which means writing. Egyptians treated hieroglyphs as something sacred, and they called it as medu nether, which means the gods' words, as they believed that writing is invented by the gods. Here is a picture of a hieroglyph.
Song, music, dance, and drama. Archaeologists believe that the human voice may be considered as the first instrument used by the prehistoric people. Grunting at different pitches may include different warning signs, different meanings. For example, low-pitched grunts may be used as warning signs. They also smack stones and sticks, which produce noise. Prehistoric music was believed to be a development from the sounds of the human voice. The patterns created by the voice was assumed to be the creator of the music. Aside from this, many believe that our ancestors created rhythmic music by clapping hands. Since there is no definite form of communication during the prehistoric era, communication was also transferred through body language, such as dance and dramas. They were social communications often used during ceremonies and rituals. It may be also used as a way to boost a hunter's morale.
Language and oration. Since man's presence on the planet, communication has existed in many forms. The methods, on the other hand, consisted of a disorganized set of signs that could indicate something different to any person who used them. Communication did not begin to take on a purposeful, produced format until 3 million years after man's birth, around the year 30,000 BCE. One of the early communication methods is cave painting. It is the most well-known form of primitive communication. The artistic endeavors were created by a species of man that appeared around 130,000 BCE, the Homo sapiens. The method involved creating pigments made from the juice of fruits and berries, colored minerals, or animal blood. These pigments were then used to create depictions of primitive life on the cave walls. Another use of cave paintings is storytelling. Some of the earliest evidence of stories comes from the cave drawings in Lascaux and Chauveau, France. The drawings, which date as far back as 30,000 years ago, depict animals, humans, and other objects. Some of them appear to represent visual stories, It is even possible that the scenes depicted on those cave walls were associated with some kind of oral storytelling. Cave paintings will be further discussed later in the presentation. Another early communication method are the use of drums and smoke signals. Drums were one way to send signals to neighboring tribes and groups. The sound of the drumming patterns would tell them of concerns and events they needed to know, while smoke signals were another way to send messages to people who were not close enough to use words with. Some of the oldest forms of human communication also include talking or making sounds, body language, dancing, acting, and using symbols. Sumerian language is the oldest written language in existence. First attested about 3100 BCE in southern Mesopotamia, it flourished during the 3rd millennium BC.
Next is body art. According to Atkins 1990, body art is a style of art in which the artist, instead of using wood, stone, or paint on canvas, uses his or her own body as the medium. Tattoos are one of the earliest forms of artistic expression. The earliest tattoo evidence dates back to 3370 BC as stated in Iron and Ink Tattoo 2021. Body art can be considered as a forerunner for today's widespread acceptance of tattooing, piercing, and other forms of body adornment as means of establishing one's personal individuality, as well as links to specific types of community and culture. According to the Art Story 2017, body art has its roots in the performance art movement, which originated in the late 1950s among avant-garde artists with the staging of happenings by John Cage and members of Fluxus Group. The following are the forms of body art. First is the nail painting. It is the practice of painting decorative motifs on fingernails. Next is the human nude-scape photography. It focuses on form, composition, emotional content, and other aesthetic elements when depicting the naked human body. Next is the body painting. It is a type of body art in which the artist paints on the skin directly. Mime and living statues. It is the skill of communicating action, emotion, and or character exclusively via bodily gestures or movements. Face painting. It is the practice of applying paint to a person's face or drawing designs on it as form of decoration. And lastly is the tattoo art. It is a permanent mark or design on the body that is created by injecting inedible ink into the skin's dermis layer. Jewelry. According to Cambridge Dictionary, it is the decorative pieces of precious metals such as gold and silver and precious stones that are worn on your clothing or body. According to Legrand 2013, jewelry can be traced back to civilizations that flourished around 3000 to 400 BC in the Mediterranean and what is now Iran. Jewelry can serve to make a person look more attractive. It also represents wealth, power, and high social rank. Jewelry is a kind of art of certain people who wants to express themselves creatively and individually. Some people, on the other hand, wear jewelry as part of their culture and heritage. They all play significant roles despite their differences in importance and relevance. Archaeologists have discovered the world's oldest known pieces of jewelry, which they believe might have been worn as earrings or necklace 150 years ago, according to Cascon 2021. The oldest jewelry that archaeologists have discovered is this picture. The 33 beads were discovered during excavations near the mouth of Dizmun Cave, about 10 miles inland from the coastal east of Essora, between 2014 and 2018. They were made from half-inch long sea snail shells.
Mythology. Merriam-Webster defined mythology as the collection of myths that deal with gods, demigods, and heroes of a particular tribe or culture. There are many types of mythology, but it is often categorized into three. The first one is the theological myths, which explain why a certain thing is the way it is. It is usually where the origins are indicated. Next is the historical myths that retell an event from the past but elevate it with greater meaning than the actual event, like the Indian epic Mahabharata. Lastly, the psychological myths that usually involves a heroine on a journey in which they discover their true identity, resolve a crisis, and provide the audience with some cultural value. The prehistoric period, myths were used as a means of communication to explain things to children, like the origin, culture, beliefs, and values, and it has been passed from generation to generation. During the Neolithic period, it is said that the people worshipped the sun, the moon, and the natural elements on which their harvest and sustenance depended. Meanwhile, during the Iron Age, the religion were polytheistic, or they believed in more than one god like the ancient Scythian culture where they have several different deities. Additionally, in Greek mythology, it also has the Bronze Age as one of its stages wherein the story started stating that the humans in the Bronze Age were made by Zeus out of the ash tree and their main focus was war. It is known as the period of Bronze Age since it was what they used to create their weapons. An example of mythology is the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is said to be the oldest myth that shows the inevitability of death and an individual's pursuit to find meaning in life. It was written in the stages between 1150 to 1400 BCE and it was developed in Mesopotamia from Sumerian poems relating to the historical Gilgamesh, king of Uruk, who was later elevated to the status of a demigod. Another example is the Great Goddess, which is the concept of an almighty goddess or a fertility goddess, and it is theorized that it has been worshipped in the Neolithic era.
Another device is cave painting and visual symbols. Cave paintings are painted drawings or symbols on cave walls, rocks, or ceilings, mainly of prehistoric origin. It is believed that the earliest known cave paintings were 400,000 years ago during the Upper Paleolithic period. This is according to the New World Encyclopedia. Cave painting is the most well-known form of primitive communication. The method involved creating pigments made from the juice of fruits and berries, colored minerals, or animal blood. These pigments were then used to create depictions of primitive life on the cave walls. According to Brittany, large wild animals such as bison, horses, aurochs, and deer, as well as signs of human hands accompanied by abstract patterns, are frequently depicted in cave paintings. Humans are rarely shown in caves, whether painted or otherwise, yet human heads or genitalia occasionally exist in solitude. So what do we mean by this? Ibig sabihin, hindi madalas nakikita or nagiging subject ang humans sa cave paintings or even sa rock art. However, yung mga image ng ulo ng humans and genitalia, which is the reproductive organs of male or female, ay ginagamit as subject sa cave paintings pero hindi palagi. And it exists in solitude, meaning naka-seclude or naka-isolate, nakahiwalay. These are some theories on why cave paintings occurred and what was its purpose. This is according to the New World Encyclopedia. Number 1, a way of transmitting information. Number 2, religious or ceremonial purposes. Number 3, catch animal soul or spirit to hunt them more easily. Number 4, represents animistic vision and homage to surrounding nature. Basic need of expression that is natural for humans. Recordings of life experiences of the artist and stories about their peers. So, yung purpose ng cave paintings is not known and hanggang ngayon hindi pa siya nalalaman. The purpose of the paintings has been questioned by scholars for years. The evidence suggests that they were not merely decorations of living areas, since the caves in which they have been found do not have signs of ongoing habitation. Also, they are often in areas of caves that were not easily accessed. Pero yung pinaka-sikat or the most popular theory states that the depictions were used as a manual for instructing others what animals were safe to eat. So here are some examples of the famous cave containing Stone Age paintings. The first one is the Caves of El Castillo in Fuenteventura, Spain. So, itong Cave of El Castillo, it is a Stone Age rock shelter in Spain. Itong cave na ito, dito matatagpuan yung oldest cave painting na na-discovered. In this cave, a panel of abstract science and hand stencils rock art located in the Gallery of the Hands can be found. So, the next one is the Cosquer Cave in Marseille Coast, France. So, itong cave na to, na-discover siya noong 1985 ng isang diver na si Henry Cosquer, deep under the sea. Pero yung mga paintings ay hindi na-mention until 1991 after 3 divers died in the cave when they got lost. Sa cave na to, makikita ang 500 paintings or engravings, and then half of them depict animals drawn in bold lines such as bison, antelopes, ibex, seals, ox, and numerous horses.
Sculpture. Sculpture is a three-dimensional art object carved from art or plastic materials. Their designs may be embodied in freestanding objects, in reliefs on surfaces, or in environments ranging from tableaus to concepts that envelope the spectator. Sculpture is a form of communication during the ancient times because since then, art or images like cave paintings, statues, and sculptures were used to represent the major events and to express concepts. The most common prehistoric materials used for sculpting are mammoth bone, ivory, and perishable wood. In softer varieties of stone, artists use limestone and sandstone. stone. Harder varieties include quartzite and serpentine. In Stone Age, clay and terracotta were widely used. During the Mesolithic and Neolithic periods, tools became stronger, which allowed for the carving in tougher materials. Rarely, silver, gold, and jade were used. Presented are the three examples of prehistoric sculptures. The one in the middle is the Venus of Berekhet-Ram, which was found by archaeologist N. Goren Inbar from Hebrew University of Jerusalem during archaeological excavations on the Golan Heights in 1981. The sculpture is believed to be the oldest Stone Age known figurative carving in the world and is somewhere between 233,000 and 800,000 years old. It exhibits three or more groove-like incisions made by a sharp-edged stone which give it the appearance of a human body. Next is the Lion Man of Wallensteinstadel, which is the world's oldest known zoomorphic or animal-shaped sculpture. It is 35,000 to 40,000 years old, and it is carved from a woolly mammoth ivory tusk using a flintstone knife. Lastly is the Shigir idol at 11,000 years old, which is the most ancient wooden sculpture in the world. It is carved from large using stone tools and animal teeth, and it is believed that the statue is over 5 meters tall, and it seems to have been carved to be viewed.
Another type of communication is cuneiform. Cuneiform was a writing method developed by the Sumerians at around 3,500 to 3,000 BCE, or before Common Era. They were written on soft clay stones using sharp-pointed tools before letting it dry. Since it developed a new way of writing, it was a faster way of communicating compared to the old pictogram. In addition to this, many of the topics it consists of are mostly about business and trading. However, some blocks portray stories, myths, and letters about the kings. Many of the biblical stories, like the Great Floods, were only revisions of Mesopotamian myths. The Epic of Gilgamesh, which was mentioned earlier, is an example of cuneiform.
Another example of prehistoric media is pottery, which was considered to be one of the oldest and most widely used ornamental arts in the world. Pottery is a process where clay is hardened using heat. The objects made from this process were used as tools for cooking, serving, storing food, and as an expression of art. Dating back from 8,000 BCE, the Shanrendong cave pottery located in Hunan province, China, is the earliest recorded pottery so far. Pottery is also used as a form of communication. Before the existence of social media, early Mississippian mound cultures in the America's southern Appalachian Mountains used pottery as a channel of communication in a similar way of how people use social media in today's world. Here are some of the discovered pottery objects from the prehistoric era. Like what I said earlier, merong na-discover na pottery objects sa southern Appalachian Mountains sa Amerika. So, yung unang picture, ayun yung fragments ng pottery na yon. And makikita dyan yung iba't ibang symbols na may meaning sa mga tao na gumagamit niyan dati. And then, yung oldest na na-discover na cave pottery sa buong mundo so far is yung Shanrendong Cave Pottery, which is located in Jiangxi Province, China, which dates back to 8,000 BCE. And then, lastly, yung third picture naman is the Yuchanian Cave Pottery located in Hunan Province from 16,000 BCE.
Papyrus. Papyrus is a thick paper-like material that was employed as a writing surface in ancient times. It was produced from a papyrus plant leaf. Several sheets of papyrus were linked end-to-end to form a roll in ancient times. These rolls, which may be 100 feet long or longer, were the most prevalent type of papyrus in ancient times. This is according to the University of Michigan. So, sa paggawa ng papyrus paper, ginamit ng mga ancient Egyptians yung stem ng papyrus plant para makagawa ng mga sails, clothes, mats, cords, and yung pinaka-importante is yung papyrus as a paper. Paper made from papyrus was considered the chief writing material in ancient Egypt, and it was adopted by the Greeks and was used extensively in the Roman Empire. So yung naka-invent ng papyrus ay yung mga ancient Egyptians, since dun din siya nanggaling. The papyrus functions as a writing material. Documents such as household and administrative documents, letters, contracts, legal texts, illustrated narratives, and religious texts were written in papyrus. It was an important material during the prehistoric era, for they regulate the information and communication of the Egyptians. So in addition, itong papyrus along with parchment, ito yung naging way sa pag-invent ng modern paper na ginagamit natin ngayon. So yung paper na ginagamit natin sa pag-record or pag-disseminate ng information. So that concludes our presentation for today. Here are the references that we used for our discussion. Thank you.